What up? This is Myron, and you are listening or watching the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast that Down on the Docks on the other side of the tracks, 5-star dive bar podcast of and about the Seattle Mariners. And this is our Mariners offensive or lineup X Factors episode. We have a few more of these X Factor episodes coming out, but this is the first one. And we are specifically talking about offensive X Factors. I've said that twice. You get it. Also on the show today, we are going to talk about these new jerseys. Well, they're the old jerseys, but they brought them back. They look great. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about New Era and their big error on their new hats. We're also going to talk about Ichiro and the big unit, taking a picture together, what that means to Mariners fans. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about George Kirby's injury, Rick Rizz's injury, and these comments that Kevin Durant had about Julio Rodriguez. And of course, we're going to be closing up with our favorite thing to do, Mariners fans losing it. We're going to get into all of that right after this. All right, Hanno. So at the time of us recording this right now, there's supposed to be a Mariners game with the Diamondbacks down in Peoria. As far as we know, game is canceled due to field conditions.
Little rain in the desert, huh?
I would assume so. It has looked gray. It's been gray down the whole West Coast. So I'm up here in Seattle, right here on the shores of Lake Washington. You're up in Edmonds. But we were going to kind of like watch the game and kind of do this podcast. Now we just have to, I guess, enjoy each other's company, and that's it, Hanno.
Yeah, cool. I actually didn't even know they were playing tonight.
Of course you did it. You're the most informative, happy-go-lucky man in Mariners fandom. I'm up here in Seattle. It's been interesting. Just it seems like people were kind of, feeling a little bit mixed. It seemed like a little bit of not as bad of vibes about the Mariners, it seems. And then the Seahawks thing happens this week, and you didn't hear anything about Mariners. There's been no stories. So apparently George Kirby got injured.
Yeah, heard a little bit about that. It's kind of the same thing he's gone through his first few years. He's had this injury before. Guess it's no inflammation or anything. It's just being kind of sore the next day after he goes out and pitches. So it's happened before. They know how to handle it. I guess he still wanted to keep going, but since it's early, that they're going to rest him and hold him off and just make sure till he's 100% and good and doesn't have that soreness after coming off the hill.
Yeah, and that's what you get when you have a deep. Also, you can make those decisions easily, much more easily. You can sleep better at night, I'm sure, when you have such a deep pitching staff, and which goes into the 6th and the 7th man that they have to, activate now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting maybe if it was in, end of the year or something he could probably go through and be able to make a start, or they would allow him to. But yeah, early on, I mean, yeah, we got some guys that can help him out, that's for sure, when they go down like this.
Yeah, and I would assume Hancock's going to be the guy. I mean, they haven't come out and said that yet. They haven't needed to, but I would assume he's going to be the guy, and I would assume he's going to be in that 5th spot versus where Kirby would probably be in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, last year or Hancock stepped in there early for the Mariners, so it's something he's used to.
Yeah, and I was also going to say, the last start that Kirby had, I was down there in the desert, and it was interesting because I didn't know how short of an appearance he was going to have. It was what, the second week, maybe his first start, maybe second start. And I believe he only went into the second inning and pitched to two batters, and they took him out. So I wonder if that it was then, or was it from the recovery? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't, but I mean, typically, it's all on pitches, as you ramp up earlier in the season. So maybe he was on a count or something like that, or he had a lot of pitches thrown in the first inning, or he got to where he needed to be in that second start. It's hard to say, but that's kind of what I remember how they usually do it.
Right. Another injury that happened that has now been downgraded was Mitch Garver. He got hit in the hand after hitting his third home run of the spring, and it was like, hold your breath time. What are we going to do? And then that also said something about the Mariners lineup or depth when you're worried about a hitter that hit 172 last year. But no, he's had a good spring. It looks like he's bouncing back. He's had this nice little short stroke. He looks stronger. I've read that he's stronger. We've talked already about what type of like influences Seitzer and Edgar could probably have, when we were seeing that with Garver, and he is important to the team. He's also, the $12 million backup catcher to our platinum glove, hopefully silver slugger, and all-star this year, Cal Raleigh. But it seems like since the time that it's happened to now, he's down to 80%. I mean, he says he's at 80% with it. No, or x-rays came back negative. Any heard anything else on that?
No, just what you mentioned. So I assume then he hasn't made an appearance since that happened. Then, huh?
No, I have not seen him in the lineup since.
Yeah.
And this is, yeah.
Well, it's a good. I mean, I'm happy that he's not hurt. He's one of the guys that I hope has a bounce back year. Um, had a really rough year for himself, and just pulling for him that he can show more of himself this year and what he did early on before he came to us with Texas and can produce like that.
Yeah, and I was looking at his stats, and I heard somebody else mention this. He's one of these every other year guys where he has
Oh
a
yeah.
really good year. So we're on that blunt rotation right there of the good year. Uh, but yeah, we've talked about it. It's important to have him, especially because you'd like to not have to lean on Cal so much out of desperation, where you don't have any other choices. We know Cal likes to get out there every single day, but we also need, some right-handed hitting and pinch hitting and depth coming off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Cal doesn't like to come out of the game, and he likes to play every day. But every year, this time of year, about giving Cal, more rest and stuff. But we'll see. Listen to some stuff that Ryan Divish was saying. He said probably if things work out, they're hoping that Mitch can catch 2 days a week, which is kind of normal, for the backup, and you know preserve Cal as much as we can. We know he'll get beat up back there. He always does, and so hopefully that will be the case for the Mariners.
Yes, Cal is the human Timex watch. There, he takes a licking, he keeps on ticking, and the more he gets injured, the better he plays. It's
Yeah.
easy for us to say. It's easy for the fans to say, but one other injury that we got to talk about was Rick Rizz catching a a foul ball with his head.
Yeah, scary. Glad he's okay. Um, I heard, I don't know much about it. Just happened during when he was broadcasting, and he kept on going, huh? He kept broadcasting after a second.
Yeah, I guess they checked him out, and they okayed him. They let him get back in the booth. I have not personally heard that game. I know you could go back on the archives on the MLB app. I definitely want to check that out. But I am too. Now that he's okay, we can kind of like laugh about it. And I know you and I were kind of talking like, what if he got hit from getting hit in the head if this was like in like the movie Major League or something like that, he'd be after he got hit in the head. You know how Rick's so positive, he just comes back and he's like this real negative. He has this big negative turn on the Mariners, like saying all
Yeah.
the things he really wants to say now.
Yeah, absolutely. Or kind of even saying it like it actually is. He can twist or not twist, but make everything look rosy. But that's his personality, and he's always been like that. But certainly glad that he's okay.
Yeah, definitely. Another quick thing that we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about, was, and I mentioned was the jerseys. They've been unveiled. I know I'm saying new jerseys, but they are the old jerseys. It's all about the lettering. It seems like that's the big thing. I don't know about. I haven't read enough about like the breathing or the material or anything like that. But let me pull this up on to present this for the people watching. And for the people that aren't, if you guys remember last year, it was the big, hubbub about Fanatics and Nike, and they were pointing their fingers at each other of who was wrong. And the biggest thing was the lettering was very, very small. And I think the pants were see-through, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see here. There it is. You're looking at it right there. That is a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, the lettering's much bigger and kind of what we remember, that's for sure.
Yeah, I kind of like the big lettering. I know you were mentioning last year that the smaller lettering doesn't really bother you on a jersey, but I do like the big, huge letters from when you're at the game and you can actually, read it from the stands. We're getting a little bit older here, so maybe our eyesight's not that great. I can tell you what, my 94-year-old grandma Norma loves the new jerseys or the old jerseys coming back. That's for sure. I mean, it looks cool. Like if I was a player, I want the big name on there. I guess if you were, your last name was, Schnitzelbaum hyphen Gordon, you might like the smaller ones, because if you have more than, I don't know, 8 or 9 letters in your last name, the bigger the print, you're running into a problem, right? You're going armpit to armpit.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, what is it, 2 years ago when they were really bad when we had Teo. I remember his looked awful. Just like the spacing is what really bothers me when that's off. But those look sharp and definitely a lot easier to read.
Yeah, and I heard too, like in on the letters, I know you can't see this if you're listening, but if you go and look it up, like like the gray or the blues that are around it, or whatever the offsetting color of any team's uniform, it definitely has this like sparkly, kind of like metallic thing to it. But I'm glad that those are back. I still have my jerseys that I finally can fit back into that I bought back in 2023. So I'm very happy about that. Last year couldn't fit into them. So they, had a year of not getting any, game time tread on them. So that's good.
No beer spilled on them.
No beer spilled on them. Here we go. The other apparel talk we're going to talk about. I don't know, Hannah, have you seen these things, these hats, these new era hats where they have the big letter logo and they've had a bunch of mishaps with them, especially with the Texas and I think the Angels. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I ran across it and did see that. And then I heard somebody say it was quite shocking that it didn't get caught because the process is it usually gets A-okayed by the club and then definitely Major League Baseball as well. And for them not to pick that up. And I think I was listening to a former GM of Miami, and he was saying, he even had a guy that spoke Spanish just to look over his stuff, just in case he was missing something, in the case of with the Texas thing he was mentioning about. So, big blunder. He kind of blamed the clubs more than Major League Baseball, but what a mistake.
Well, here's the hats, and if you're not listening, Google it. But basically, they take like for example, the Mariners, spelled out Mariners across the cap, but the Mariners nautical S compass is right in the middle. So it actually looks like, what was that? Mazers, Masseurs. Um,
I
but
mean,
yes, the Texas one, TE, then the big TAS, Titas, which you know your Spanish, you know what that means.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, I've never been a fan of loud hats, but it's definitely the style now, and yeah, I just the whole I like something simple and smaller. It kind of fits on there. I mean, that's just massive and loud. It's something I would never wear.
I hope they keep the anals
Yeah,
for the angel
exactly.
for the anals. Let's see, is there another one on there that
The
has?
ass hose.
Oh, the asshoes. The Angels versus the Asshoes. The winner gets the Titas. Um, yeah, this is I get it. Putting like the symbol somewhere else. I'm not a big fan. It's not my style. The scrambles, just like yours. I'm a little more traditional when it comes to that kind of stuff. I wouldn't mind if they put that logo, that big logo, whatever. Even like the White Sox, or let's even look at Detroit, and you put that logo down on the bill or something like that. That could look kind of cool.
Yeah, because basically, to me, how I see it is it's the real hat, that they would wear, like the Mariners. It's got the S, and then they just put the Mariner writing behind it, which would be across the front of the jersey. Is that how I'm seeing it? It's kind of small.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. We got some replies on this. Uh, mainly it's okay. How much for the officially licensed boobs hat? I need it. Um, I thought that was good. T-Toss would have sold billions. I think they like stopped producing these. I think they
I
here's
pulled
another
them,
one.
right?
Yeah. They at least New Era was proactive and figured that out. Well, it's a different problem than Fanatics and Nike had last year, but
Right.
but I think it's a little more extreme. Yeah, that hat is hilarious, but overall, this idea is horrible, and they need to fire whoever ran with it. Anals, the new era is terrible. Just keep pushing out the worst designs every week, but people do buy these, so whatever. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like, hey, that might not be our style. We're of a certain age, Hanno. So
Absolutely.
maybe my nieces and nephews might like that hat. And listen, I'll look for the anals one at Ross or whatever, and we'll pick that up. Real quick though, two quick things before we get into what we're actually gonna dive into here, which is the X factors. Um, I don't know if you saw this. This was kind of cool. Kevin Durant was asked, I believe, who he would consider himself in MLB or who he would compare himself to, and Durant says Julio Rodriguez is the Kevin Durant of basketball. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I know they're boys, or they're close or have become close. That's cool. Kevin Durant's as we all know, drafted Sonics and is a heck of a basketball player. Um, and he even mentioned, Julio's starting to make for himself, and if he hasn't already, and be just as known all around the country, if not the world, too, and with baseball. So he's pulling for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant's been such a G and so nice to Seattle. He's you've heard the comments that he said about the Sonics. Anytime any shit's brought up, like it's just a quick answer. It's never like, let me think about it. Which place should have a franchise? He's always seems to have Seattle's back and very like thankful for a short time here, and it was important to him. Now, as far as uh Julio being the KD, he would definitely need some more edge to him, which we've alluded to. Maybe we're going to see Julio's a little bit more edge, like uh, KD's personality and Julio Rodriguez personality, at least with the media and on the court and on the field, quite different.
Oh, absolutely. And even, I mean, I've even heard that he's pretty edgy online and likes to communicate with fans or haters or trolls or however you want to call him. But he's quite active online too, I heard.
Yeah, I wonder if Julio wanted to be like him, like Kevin Durant a little bit more, he'd have to get a few more burner accounts. Also, if he wanted to be more like Julio, after a big playoff loss, maybe would like join the Dodgers or another team when he's just like, God damn it, I'm never getting this chip. I'm just gonna, if you can't beat them, join them. So hopefully we don't see that part of Kevin Durant's game in Julio. And then finally, wanted to talk about this before we take a break and get into the X factors. Loving these shots of the big unit being down at Mariners camp. I don't know if you've seen some of that, but it's been pretty cool. Especially, you see him talking to whatever Logan Gilbert, the other pitchers, you're seeing him and Dan Wilson talk is really cool, especially in the situation that they're in right now with Dan Wilson, running the show. But I got to say, this picture right here, I think is my favorite. And it's the one of Randy Johnson and Ichiro.
Oh, nice.
Is that up on the screen? Yeah. It's like two ships in the night because they never played together, right? Like Ichiro was post Griffey and Randy Johnson. And it was very interesting. I remember back in the day when Ichiro pulled up on the scene and he was already wearing that 51.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have thought this, but I wasn't picturing Ichiro in his uniform during the picture. But yeah, it's spring training and Ichiro's in his uniform. I mean, I don't know if
Ichiro has any other clothes, or he definitely doesn't. He definitely doesn't pack any other clothes.
I mean, I'm wondering if his Hall of Fame speech is if he's going to be dressed like that. Just take some hacks at the Hall of Fame field before his speech or something.
Yeah, well, his speech, he's going to go down to first base and he's going to take off his arm and his shin guards, and the first base coach, instead of the sliding glove, because he doesn't slide face first, he's going to give him a speech. So maybe that's what happens there. But I thought this was pretty cool. There's that batting practice jersey, which is technically Ichiro's, I believe. It's a 51. It has no names on the back that I've always thought about getting. I think the modern Mariners fan and current Mariners fans always going to think of 51 as Ichiro's. But on the other hand, listen, Randy Johnson left. Randy Johnson went into the Hall of Fame as a Diamondback. So as far as I'm concerned, that 51 is Ichiro's now.
Yeah. I mean, I personally would like to see them retire Randy's 51 as well. He did a lot for us. And
he sure did.
There's a lot of, the Yankees of retired guys with the same number. I mean, I hope someday the Mariners do retire Randy Johnson's 51.
You have a good point. Like Randy Johnson's, what he did in those huge moments, down the stretch in 95, the clinching game, coming out of the bullpen, being that him and Griffey being those two loud, big personality rock stars back in the day. You had Edgar there, but Edgar was, the guy that went out and, grabbed his lunch pail and did his thing where, the big intimidator, the big unit, Mr. Snappy, all of those things. And, yes, it would be kind of cool. I think I'm on board with you. Let's retire them both. 51.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all of the us catching up on what's going on here. See, we got it right here on this notepad. We're going to go a quick break, and we're going to talk about offensive X factors in the Mariners lineup. That's what this episode's supposed to be about. We're going to get into that just right after this.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only Mr. Tom Hutler. Do you have any of your favorite stories from the Kingdom?
There was a time we had an earthquake, and so they were going to evacuate the building. So I was like getting up to go leave, and they go, "No, you can't go. You got to read these safety things." It's like,
do we need to tell them that there's smoking's only on the exterior ramps?
Yeah. And Dave came shooting past. He signed off. I'm going, wait, I'm the only one here.
Listen and subscribe to Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 AMA Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
All right, Hannah, we're going to talk about Mariners X Factors. And by the way, this segment is brought to you by the Supercross at the Kingdom, the Bon Marché, and Tower Records. Make sure to get down there and get those tickets. Can't wait to see you guys all down at the Kingdom. Anyways, the X Factors. You know, when you see these lists, Hannah, X Factors on every team, if you go through the league, we could probably guess who they're going to be, right? Like when you go to the Mariners, it's always going to be like, well, the X factor is if Julio can do this. We've heard that one. If Cal Raleigh can do this, if can be himself, I should say. If the starting five, blah blah, like we get it, right? So we kind of took it down to the next level, and I kind of came up with 5 X factor players, and specifically on offense or in the lineup. We're not talking about they're in the field, just X factors that are going to make and break the Mariners on the current roster that they have. And I don't know if you made a list. Are we just going to go off of my list, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, your list is fine.
It's fine. All right, great. My list in no particular order, I guess I want to say number 5. No particular order, but let's just count them down. Number 5 that I have on this list is Solano, our free agent pickup. We've talked about it before. This guy, you know, we look at the back of his card. I can even pull up his stats. This guy Donovan Solano has, you know, been productive in major leagues, you know, like 280 something the last couple of years. I mean, you put him on any other Mariners lineup in the last few years, he's got to be hitting in the middle of the order, have the highest batting average on the team. Though, you know, this is a guy that, like Dylan Moore, though, he's used best, not sparingly, but not every single day. And you look at the teams that he was on, especially here in San Diego Padres, and he was on a pretty good hitting, you know, Minnesota Twins, when he was playing with the Giants. You go and you look at these plate appearances, and he never, except for 1 year, doesn't have 400 plate appearances. And so if he can give you what he has done every single year, this is going to be somebody that helps out this lineup. This is the thing about him, though, is you look at him and you go, and this is a positive thing. He isn't one of these players that we're going, well, if he has a bounce back year, or if he can return to the guy that was on Jerry DiPoto's radar in 1972, he's been doing it. And so that's why I have him here on the X Factor. And let's be honest, it's one of the bigger free agents, or only free agents, that the Mariners went out and signed.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed too when the Mariners picked him up this year was his average. Yeah, that 280 jumped right out of me. You know, would be a team leader. I mean, those are just averages we don't see with Mariners teams in the last few years that high, you know. So that was something that caught my eye. And not being an everyday player with San Diego last year, but he produced, that's for sure. And hopefully he can do the same for the Mariners. I mean, it'd be nice to have a guy coming off the bench that, you know, has success and that we have a lot of confidence in, and then also can spell some players for days off. You know, I caught like a little bit of the spring game here recently, and first time I really noticed him and saw him. But yeah, third, so that's an option. And as far as Polanco's health, might be a guy that's going to have play more than what is expected, but we have contingency plans, it seems like, or Jerry does, for all around the infield. So hopefully he has hopefully he continues what he's done in his career and doesn't have that kind of first-year T-Mobile, like, I got to get used to this park type of thing, and just continues.
Yeah, and this isn't a home run guy,
No.
like 8. Let's just go backwards through the years. 8 last year, 5 the year before, 4 the year before, 7 the year before, 3 the year. Pretty consistent right there. Like, he's going to give you, a handful of home runs. At the most you're going to get 10. But if we want to kick the tires and go, I shouldn't say kick the tires. Yeah, let's kick the tires on this guy and give him a shot. I'm fine with this pickup. It was pretty much the only pickup. I mean, Polo was, a rescue. We went out and got him again. But you go back, what about 4 years here? He had a silver slug. I mean, this is a silver slugger winner. But again, every year, this average consistent 286, 282, 284, 280, 326, 330. So that's about where his, and then he did have a bit of, I think, injuries or something like 5 or 6 years ago. And then you have 252, 249, 252. You look at his plate appearances, 316, 395, 340. We'll skip these two because this is around 2020 as well. 228, 203, 330, 344, 304, 450, and 309. Yeah, and you can play him at first. You can play him at third. I know he's a bit short at first, but they're saying this guy can dig the ball. But if he's going to hit, I don't really care. And you also, this is another DH person. That's been the biggest problem with the Mariners. We never can have somebody be productive at DH.
And he also solves a big problem Mariners have not been looking for. He's a contact guy, and looking at everybody on your X Factor list, they all need to improve with contact hitting, and it's something Dan Wilson has preached, and same with Edgar, that this team's got to contact. I mean, led the league in strikeouts, so he's someone hopefully that will rub off on some of these guys that are free swingers and, flat out had terrible years, just from getting bad habits and thinking that they need to carry the team at times, and also just their approach at plate and their at bats just looking awful. He's a professional hitter, and hopefully it rubs off on him, and the Mariners need a contact hitter, and they went out and got one.
Yeah, and if you want some more of your advanced stats, he's last year had a WAR of 1.0, career 7.6. The OPS ain't that great, but that's not his game. On base percentage, though, look at that, 343 last year, 335. Again, second base, third base, first base. I mean, all the positions that we're needing help or we have question marks at. So he does fill in all those blanks. If he can continue to be this guy and come to a park like T-Mobile Park and still do, his gap to gap, up the middle, the other way, contact guy, this is going to be a huge X factor. Now let's move. That he's like one of maybe the only person, I think he's the only person here on this list that we're not asking for a bounce back. We're asking for, a continuation of this. But again, T-Mobile Park, new team, new organization. It's worth having a big question mark around it as well. Next person on the list, let's pull it up here. Let's go with, because it's hard to rank all these. Let's go with another person that's not that bad off, and that's Randy Arozarena. I've personally been very huge on the guy for years. We know how he can put a team on his back. Is he a superstar? Probably not. Is he an all-star? He's done that. We saw the body language last year. We made a lot of guesses he just didn't seem like he was really there. And then he seemed to kind of warm up. He started last season off poorly, but had a nice little run in Tampa Bay before we got him. But all around,
comfortable this year. It's not such a shock to him, being traded across the country, and in a part of the country he's never, played at that often. And he's more comfortable. He's got some, his boys in right and center that he's close to. The Mariners got a lot of those guys, which is nice, and then Edgar he's able to communicate with. But, yeah, Randy's the type of guy. I mean, if he'll definitely. He's one of those players that if you get, in playoff times, he shows up, or, he's shown that he shows up, been very successful in the playoffs, and it'll be interesting to see, if he does revert back to how he was before he got here, or what kind of impact Edgar might Edgar might have on him as far as, working the ball up the middle and the other way, since it is such a different ballpark to hit the ball out of the park compared to Tropicana. So, but yeah, a player that can carry a team for a little bit, gets hot. We only missed the playoffs by one game, and hopefully, with him having a better year, it makes it a lot easier for the Mariners.
Yeah, and look, right off the bat, they're having Randy Arms Cross Hoodie Night. So he's already in on the promotions. That's somebody that you definitely want to have the promotion. It seems like he feeds off of that shit. He feeds off of energy. I remember last year when they were talking down the stretch about like the playoffs, and he didn't even know baseball without the playoffs. He had no idea what that was like. So this is like, I think, the first off season that maybe he had the time to go, all right, it's time to recalibrate everything. But let's just pull up, for the sake of this, for the nerds, let's pull up some Fangraph shit. If there's a better one that we could go off of, somebody let us know. We'll just go with the Fangraphs because it was easy to pull up. Last year, you look at that, 20 home runs predicted, their projections, 2 more home runs with 22, average 219 last year. That's pretty low for him. 241 is their projection. On base percentage that's projected to be higher. Slugging seems to be higher. Just up and down this thing. Not to say that that's going to happen, but it just seems like when players start to decline around 29, 28, 29, 30 on a year, these Fangraphs and things like that will always trend you down. In this case, it seems like they're trending him back up. And look, a couple of more home runs, a bunch of more hits, hitting 20. I mean, I would want more than what I'm saying here with 152 games. The 60 plate appearance definitely would take that. The home runs, 22, would like a bit more than that. The average, I guess I could deal with that. But this would be a big difference than last year.
Yeah, he just needs to, hit the ball line to line. And, the thing for him and to help out the Mariners so much is just line moving, and be able to drive guys in, He's not going to be probably up there with Cal as far as home runs and even hopefully what we consider Julio to have, but he can be right there, third or fourth on the team, anything 20 to, God knows if he got up near 30, that'd be amazing. But, yeah, excited to see how he bounce back this year.
Yeah, you definitely have to factor in T-Mobile Park. So if you're getting anywhere from 22 to 25 home runs, that's probably around 30 elsewhere. So that would be great. But Randy's huge. We're not going to talk about in the field really right here. We're focusing on offensive production. But if he's just a bit better, and I feel like anybody that's on this list that really can, return to who they are, it's him, because he's had a track record of just always being Randy. If you take away that beginning of the season last year and start him off in whatever June, he's being Randy.
Yeah, he got way behind early on, and he was never able to dig out of it like his numbers have been.
Yeah, and not to say that he lit the world on fire with the Mariners, because he didn't. But moving on, and now we're going to get into some of the the tougher ones that are X factors. And let's just rip the Band-Aid off. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Mitch Garver. I know I said I think Randy could be the one that's, definitely going to make an improvement on the year. I just said that. But I'd say if you're a betting person of who's going to be better, stat wise, all around the board, it's Mitch Garver, because honestly, you couldn't be any worse.
Yeah, I mean, probably the only thing I really have to say about Mitch is he's probably the one that I'm pulling for the most, and that I hope has the bounce back season. Went through a lot of stuff, with the hate mail and that stuff, but
absolutely,
after signing the big contract, I mean, he definitely didn't want to struggle, and he's never struggled like that. So just for his mentals, I hope he has a good year.
Yeah, and they've talked about, again, we talked a little bit about earlier and on other podcasts, way shorter to the ball. He's in better shape. He's stronger. We joke when, the Mariner, he gets hit in the hands, and we're hitting the hand, and he might have a broken hand for, a 24-hour period. And we're worried about a 172 hitter. It's because, look, he was brought here to be a middle of the lineup guy. He's supposed to be a table clearer. And if we get anything out of him, and by I mean anything, like at least hitting 220, right? Knocking in around 70, 80 runs, closer to 20 home runs. I don't think that's too much to project from him if he's getting everything back together.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this Mariner team, it's not going to be one or two players in my opinion that's going to carry them. It's going to have to be a full team effort, and I think that's kind of the way Dan has approached this team. They're going to be very aggressive contact hitters and be able to spray the ball around, and I think that's how they're going to be successful if they choose to play like that.
Yeah, I mean, last year didn't even do 400 at bats, 15 home runs, hitting 172. Just imagine if this guy hits 220. It's what, 5, 6, 7 more home runs. He's right around 51 RBIs. If you're hitting 50 points higher, you'd assume you'd probably have 25 more RBIs. The OPS, he's a career 784, 627. Slugging career, this guy's been 454. Last year he was 341. On base percentage in his career, 330. Last year, 286. He's career 9.6 WAR. Last year, negative 0.1.
Yeah.
So it shows you two things, right? How far he fell, but also man, if he can just be a bit better and stay healthy and be able to catch 1 or 2 games a week, like you said, team effort. That's the effort. That's an X factor.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to move on to one of our guys that we always talk about a lot on here, but we've kind of been light on it here in the last couple of months, last couple of weeks. JP Crawford. We already know 202, terrible slash line. We don't even need to go through the numbers, but I was seeing here his last year's numbers, but I was seeing here on Fangraphs when they were projecting that maybe he's going to hit 236, 240. Well, that's a hell of an improvement from last year. I know him in the field's a whole nother question. The on-base percentage is something that we're really going to need to see from him. And I think just now you'd assume, as long as Victor Robles, who we don't have here on the list because he hasn't done anything as a Mariner to cause you any concern. Sure, you want to go, well, is he going to repeat what he did last year? We don't know. But as far as JP Crawford, I'd assume he's not going to be in the leadoff spot. And I think he's better served for this team in a lineup down around 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know about you. What are your thoughts on JP Crawford?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be definitely better this year with a stick, that's for sure. Just hearing that he was banged last year, and working on the things that he did the year before with all the help from Drive. Was reading that he knew what he needed to do, but physically he just couldn't get it done, and he thought that was the biggest problem. So with his health this year, hopefully that's something he can recreate and have the type of season he did, which was his best season after going to the line, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. His successful year after going to Driveline, the big thing was getting his lower half very strong. And last year he had the oblique thing. So we have to give him, the benefit of the doubt on that. From what I'm reading, the same thing you're reading, it seems like his legs are a lot stronger this year. And they were pointing out a home run that he hit about how quick and fast and just easygoing that home run swing looks. Now, I will say, we always say when JP's gets that home run, when he gets a home run, you're going to see about 20 more swings just like that right after it. When he gets a little big swing happy, that is the one thing that I'd like to see him do a little bit less. I do love it when he turns on a ball, but this, using all of the field is the best JP you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our last X factor that we have here, at least for this episode, is the free agent that we paid the most for to play a different position that he really hasn't played, and that is Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco, it's been a rough go the last couple of years. But again, if this guy can, get you close to 20 home runs, and actually, I don't think it's really the home runs, and I mean, those will come. It's the amount of bats that he gets and how many games he's going to play, because he hasn't been playing full seasons. But I will say, I know that there's a lot of focus on him defensively at third base, but this is another guy that you can hope gets, and I would assume, is going to get quite a bit of DH time.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just kind of assumed that they were slotting him in at third, and hopefully that soft tissue injury stuff that he's had year after year would not, pick back up with him going over to third. I mean, sure, it's a position where he doesn't have to move as much around, but, he's got to have quick reflexes. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see defensively, but as far as offensively, if he can just get back to where he has been, I mean, he just totally fell off a cliff last year compared to what his, stats and from what I've read and saw, looks good at the plate. Finally, he got going here in spring. It was, started off late, with having that injury, so they didn't play him in the field. But I saw him turn on a ball, looked good. I know it's just spring training, not that big a deal, got to be positive going in when we're still 0-0 for him, and hopefully he can do what they've signed him to do last year as well as this year. Anywhere close to that would be a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's a career 263 hitter, as you can see right here. Last year, 213, so 50 points below,
And don't forget, that's a player the Mariners have been, focused on for years. So
since the 62 World Series. Yeah, we know. We've been on him. But look, a career 18.5 WAR. I mean, he's a huge X factor. And we've seen him have spurts of success, but yet it was always the injuries. And they say he's much more healthy this year, and we're hoping that his late start to the spring, as far as getting in the field and playing, was by strategy. And you've heard Dan Wilson. We've heard that we're going to start seeing here the last 2 weeks more and more of, we're going to see the lineup. That was the plan that he said, that people are going to get more, at bats that matter and things like that. So hopefully we're going to see a bit more of Jorge at third base. Again, it's with him. I don't think it's the skill. It's the health, right? This is somebody that you get a healthy Jorge Polanco, you know what you're getting. You're getting an all-star player. What he's going to do defensively, that's not part of this discussion. That's a whole nother thing. But I mean, Jorge Polanco, definitely an X factor. So I know that the X factors that we're doing, if you're listening to this going like, those aren't the sexy ones. Well, the Mariners team isn't that sexy. It's like you said, it's going to be a full team grinded out effort kind of thing. And so again, our offensive X factors that we wanted to go with here were Polanco, JP, Garv Sauce, Donovan Solano, and, Randy Land. And all of them have different reasons of, why they would be an X factor. Obviously, they're different people, but some of them are, hey, this is career year for you. Some of these are bounce back. Some of these are one person are we getting what we paid for in Solano? So anyways, we're going to finish this up. We'll take a quick 30-second break only. Don't go anywhere, Hannah. We're coming back. We are going, and I'll pull up the topic like we always like to close here now. We're going to go to Mariners fans losing it. We'll be back. How about right after this?
When you think about the Mariners, you have to think about the money. That's the only way you can think about the Mariners.
The biggest impact, if we make an impact, is going to come with the trade. That's just the truth.
But here's the thing. That's not right because you guys aren't the Pittsburgh Pirates. You guys You guys aren't the Marlins. You guys aren't Tampa. By the fan base and the money spent, and you guys got 32 different jerseys. You guys got more colorways than like the Jordans, and people are buying the shit. I've been there. I go to Seattle every year. You couldn't tell me that you guys have made the playoffs once in the new millennium. With the revenue sharing and the money that you're making on your own, you guys are in the top. So, yes, Yankee fan, rich kid, whatever you want to call it. To me, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be saying, all right, we're adding $30 million if there's a guy that fits that you like, and be like, fuck it.
You're absolutely right. Everything you said is correct.
All right, so we're going to close up here with Mariners fan losing it, or as Hanno likes to call it. That sounds normal to me. So here's one that first of all, let me ask you this. Hanno, how excited are you to head to the march to the opening day? It's just right around the corner. It's down at T-Mobile Park. What is it? Next Sunday? Not this Sunday, but next Sunday. And they got a whole bunch of stuff in store for you.
Yeah, opening day was the biggest day for years. Love, taking the day off work and going down there for a day game, but not anymore. I have no interest in going.
Oh no, I'm not talking about opening day there, pal. I'm talking about their march to opening day that they're having a
what do they think, their soccer team now or what?
Yes. So the opening day is right around though. Throughout March, we've got you covered with exciting events all around the city. It's not just there. It's at Starbucks. It's at everything. Anyways, let's just take a look at what some of the fans have to say about this march around the city.
They got Sean Kemp's shop on there. That'd be fun.
Here we go. I think I'm sharing that up on the screen. We have Sell the M's, old school M's fans. Ticket sales are so bad that you've closed off sections of stands. How embarrassing. Maybe you will finally get the message that the fans are tired of half-assed owners. Sound normal to you?
Yeah.
Speaking of the owners, they're down at spring training right now. We would care more if y'all had real additions to the offseason, or if we had ownership that cared, or if JD would stop acting like we should be grateful for all one playoff appearances and stop critiquing him. Sell the team.
So this march to the opening day, it's some marketing thing they're doing. That's
they're doing them around at Starbucks. I believe they're having something down at T-Mobile Park, and they just keep posting things about this to get people excited. So I'm just reading about how excited the fans are right here. I'm trying to get pumped up. PNW baseball fan, Mariners F4 fan says, sell the team. Aaron Holdenbach says, sell the team to the fans like the Packers so we can crowdfund and have a better offseason. I don't know if you gave the team to the city of Seattle, that might go sideways. I'll keep politics out of this. Dean Miller, I will go if you let Stanton throw out the first pitch so fans can properly greet him. Sell the team. Hey, Seattle Mariners, are you in it to win it, the World Series, or just 54% of your games? Because there's a big difference. Exciting events. Stanton. Oh, this guy's name is Stanton Sucks. Exciting events around Seattle. What? The Moose going to show up somewhere? How about you put a champion contending team on the field? Loser franchise. While you're counting, count me not attending any games this year. Won't share another penny with John Stanton. Well, at PNWD Rail 12. Hate to inform you, if you didn't know, that the penny is not going to be no longer in existence or mean anything. So you don't worry, you don't have to spend any pennies. We got to fire Dipoto. We got to sell the team. These tickets must be free. You got Ron. Did you see this one? The countdown to last place. Oh, here's a tough one. F Felon, Feln 81818184. Honestly, I've cared for 30 plus years. I finally get it. Front office doesn't give a damn about winning, and I'm over it. And then we got somebody here that says, "Let's go Mariners." So, and then again, fuck your opening night. Sign a fucking bat. Poverty fucking ownership. Damn. That was by DK. Is that DK Metcalf? No, DK3162. Maybe it was one of DK's thing. And then here's something. This is interesting. Here is how much money each of the teams have spent in the last two off seasons, and the Mariners are 25th out of 30th.
You know what's so funny, Joey? Jerry went on and said that the Mariners have been one of two teams to spend the most in the last two seasons. In one of his press conferences or things he did on the radio. So interesting.
Yeah, whoever does
how much.
Yeah,
he's just so full of shit.
Well, whoever does his taxes, I got to get him because those numbers sound very favorable to Jerry. Anyways, we're running out of time here. Again, forgot a couple little shout outs. We definitely, if you like our gear, you want that street cred for rocking the rye bread, hit up at simply.cora. I think they got hats and Hanno's bucket hats are going to be available. You seen the denim one? Which one? The white one? Hannah, we definitely got to get a head size for you. That's what was asked. Also, if you're looking for any other apparel, you know what? You don't want to give your money to Nike. You don't want to give your money to Fanatics or the Mariners down at the team store. Hit up at theclutch.com. That's at the clutch, intheclutch.com. Put in the code rye bread and mustard, all one word. Save yourself some money. In fact, I'm going to have those guys here on the show pretty soon, but they got all of the league, all the professional leagues, all the player stuff, the hot dogs for heaven shirt. That's in the clutch apparel. Again, / rye bread and mustard. Save yourself some money. Hanno, you got any shout outs or things you want to mention?
No, I mean, we didn't get to, who's going to make, the last few spots in the roster, but good thing we got a week or two less than 2 weeks to go. So that's a perfect topic for next week.
Yeah, that's some next week shit that you're saying right there. I like it. And I do have an announcement. I have a little solo episode, a nice little edited episode that I'm working on. It's going to be the 25 things that I'm focusing on in the 25 season. That's going to be coming out. This is going to be a surprise for Hanno to see.
Nice.
That will be out before opening day. We also have our good friend Tom Hutler, Mariners PA announcer since 1987. Been around probably longer than most of the people that listen to this podcast. He's going to be making a return here shortly, as well as our friend, writer on Saturday Night Live, Carl Tart. We're going to get him back in here. And of course, Vlad, one of our regular co-hosts, actor, writer, Yankee royalty, as he likes to say. We're going to definitely get some comments on all the injuries that happened out there in New York, because he was sitting here, what was it, last week, going like, we're in trouble, and you and I didn't want to hear nothing about it. And everything he was saying is his nightmares are starting to come true. But here's the thing I got to say about the Yankees. When a door shuts like that, and another door opens with a bigger and better player. So it's when you're going, oh boy, this team's hurt, they're screwed. Those are the kinds of organizations that these are kind of like just ripples that, make a big tsunami or a tidal wave. So we're going to have to see what that all means and how that shakes out for the rest of baseball when something like that happens. Anyways, with that being said, Hannah, you know what time it is. Charge. All right, that'll do.